As we wrap up deer season, we got Major Chris Reed here with us with law enforcement. Good morning or good afternoon, sir.
Hello. Yeah, walking in, I was telling people good morning and good afternoon.
I know it's just
right
that time of the day.
Stage.
Yes, it is. Who'd you bring in here with you today? I noticed we were minus Adam Butler.
He's out. Yeah, he's preparing for the blizzard, I think.
Snowmageddon of 2019. I got you.
He's a fickle soul.
I got you.
So we got Scott Baker and Rick Hamrick, two experts in their field of wildlife biology.
Scott, good to have you, man.
Great to be back, JT.
I hadn't seen you in a while.
It's been a while.
And Rick, glad you're here today as well. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good, thank you.
We're going to talk about some small game and talk about youth participation initiative, the youth squirrel hunt, and with those things that are going on, because you know what happens. Boys, Thursday, it's all over with, unless you're in zone 2.
Yeah, in the boot.
If you're not in zone 2, you're done with your deer hunting this week, and we'll talk about that. So let's get to it right now, and I don't know who's going to handle this, but we're over 6,300 statewide samples, still needing samples from the southeast zone, and unfortunately we had another confirmed case or two of CWD up in North Mississippi. It takes us to the confirmed cases of 9, Major Reed.
Yep. We are 9 confirmed cases, and there's still another case at the lab pending final approval or confirmation in Iowa. And then we still have an opportunity to get more samples down there in that southeast part of the state. Mm-hmm. And I know people have voiced that some of the drop-off locations are just not close. It's not feasible for them to go down there. We need more freezer drop-off locations in that world. With the majority of the state closing up, maybe they could contact our office and see about, setting up some type of pickup from some of our staff. Come by the camp if you want to hold on to a few extra heads and get some samples there and put them in a cooler or freezer if you have that at your camp, and we'll try to work out something so we can get those samples down there in that world. And we still have that opportunity. But the 6,300, we should give an applause to the sportsmen across the state, because they stepped up. They heard the message back throughout the summer last spring when we first were diagnosed with CWD, and they have risen over the bar, to provide those samples and give us a better picture what we're dealing with.
And two, because of what the hunters have done, Major Reed, is we've surpassed any level of sampling that we've ever done.
Right.
Ever in the state of Mississippi.
Yeah, I mean, ever. And some people would say, why, and I've asked the question too to Russ, our wildlife director, why are they just seemingly popping up now? And he said the volume has just increased so dramatically this year versus years in the past. And we've been sampling for since 03, 02?
Yeah, very long time.
Yeah.
And this year we're probably 5 times higher than what we had in those years, because it seemed like in the past years, early years, 1,200 a hunting season or so, that's not a number to sneeze at, but compared to what we've got this year, just you said, Chris, that the hunters have really stepped up, and the landowners, and we appreciate that.
Yeah, and they always do. It's not a surprise, because they care about the resource, and you can see that in the stuff that they've done, the time they've put into managing their deer herd, and the successful harvest that you have. That's not from us. That's from them putting in the time and the effort and the work, and this is no different.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the story in Tennessee continues to it's just tragic up there. They're talking, I think they're saying somewhere around 90, 91. And
yeah, I've heard that. I've seen
counties.
Some of that, close to 100 up there now. And it was just a few months ago when they first came online with their first confirmed
after
case.
We did.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Months after we did. So, and a lot of that's on the Tennessee-Mississippi border up there.
And that's where the majority of our CWD is as well, is up there in extreme North Mississippi.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have 2 confirmed cases in Issaquah, and then the rest are up in North Mississippi. So
extreme North Mississippi.
You're kind of seeing the unfortunate,
the way the puzzle's coming together.
Yeah, it's kind of getting put in place.
And I don't think it's going to get any better until it gets out. I don't know if it's going to get any better, but obviously this is something that we're going to have to deal with. And we're not, the point that we've got to talk about it, and we want to reinforce to people, CWD's been around, and it wasn't a matter of if, it was when. We all knew that. We all knew that, and it's just a matter of fact before, Alabama's targeted now, because of us and because of Tennessee. Let's just be honest with ourselves. That's a possibility, and then spreading past that. But there's other states, including 24 others. Weren't we 25th when it happened?
25.
Yeah. We became 25. So we were half the countries had CWD, and this hadn't stopped them, and it shouldn't stop us. We just got to be a little more vigilant.
Yeah, it's going to be a few more regulations, just like we dealt with this year. So this year's pretty much under our belt, and everybody's we're on the other side now. Where some people were thinking the world was maybe coming to an end, and now we're on the backside of it, and hunting season has come. People have harvested really good deer throughout the state. Maybe it was new, anything new, and any changes are kind of hard to receive. And now it's just going to slowly become a normal thing that, unfortunately, we have to deal with.
Someone said, give us the list of the counties with positive tests for CWD. We had Issaquah. Then we also had
Marshall, Benton, and Pontotoc.
Yeah,
those counties.
And you can find all that on the website, mdwfp.com. Rusty has a question for you. If somebody wants to hunt deer with a pistol, is there a caliber cartridge restriction?
No, there's not. Not during an open firearm season on private lands.
I would suggest, though, this is me talking, I would make sure that I had a pistol that was capable of killing a deer and doing it humanely the way it should be done, like 44 Magnum, something like that, a bigger caliber.
You get people that ask during the season if you can hunt with a 22 for deer and this and that, and you're like, yeah, you can, but why would you? Why would you do that? You can shoot a small caliber weapon that's efficient. You want to put the animal down quickly, ethically.
Yeah,
absolutely, and the way you should do that. Still looking for samples, Southeast Zone during that. All right, talk about the Turkey WMA draw hunt applications. You want to do that one, Scotty?
Yes, we're taking those right now. They can apply online through our agency website, and we'll be taking those until February the 15th. So we encourage all the hunters interested in hunting on our WMAs. Not all WMAs have a turkey draw, but there are some scattered across the state that the first couple of weeks are limited to turkey draws. So if they want to get in on the early hunting on those Pacific WMAs, they do need to go through the draw application.
No doubt about that, and that's what you need to do that. And then the youth waterfowl hunt this Saturday.
This is it.
Man, I heard they were slaying ducks over the weekend because of the polar vortex. People limited them out, and they were just having at it.
They're going to get a week to push in, and they're going to get to sit and rest on their laurels, and then the kiddos are going to ride in and just meet them.
It's going to be on.
Man, I'm telling you, that's the first duck I ever killed was a youth waterfowl hunt way back when they just started. We just started having them as an agency, and that so don't overlook that as a way to introduce a kid and change something they pursue for life. Because I went and I couldn't wait until the next year. It was at the end of the year. I went. I shot a green winged teal. I got to ride in a boat. You put your camouflage on. You get a biscuit from the store, and you go sit, and you're just it's a new thing, and it's something we kind of underestimate. I know I'm guilty of it sometimes. Like, I've been doing this, but kids are just take a kid. They got a pretty good chance of having some success this coming weekend. It's not going to be just crazy cold. Back in the 60s, that's Mississippi weather for you. We got a blizzard coming tonight, and then it's going to be back 60 by Saturday. So,
but it's staying cold up north, and that should hold some ducks.
Yeah, and I spoke with our local migratory bird expert, Houston Havens, this morning, and he had heard there were some birds coming south. Typical, I guess. In front of this vortex.
Yeah, I heard some kids.
Down.
I had some kids that had been hunting this weekend and said they were just busting ducks like crazy.
Yeah,
said it's been the best it's been all season.
Yeah, right. At least it happened before it closed.
That's right.
You got at least a little dabble of it.
And unfortunately, it's just the way the weather's been.
Yeah, we don't control the weather. We are out of that field of work. We can't do anything about that.
I got a couple of questions here for you, and some trapping questions, Chris, and I think it's concerning the law. We'll do the best we can. Carmen in Ocean Springs says, can I trap nutria in the marsh south of I-10? If yes, can I trap river otters in the marsh south of I-10? We may have to refer that somewhere else, but I don't know.
Sounds like if they have permission to be on the property they're trapping, either written permission or do have written permission, or the landowner, then yes, they can. If they cannot, then they would need to acquire that permission.
Okay. That should help you there.
Yeah, nutria is considered a nuisance species, and otter is regulated.
Okay. And they say over there in Louisiana they're good to eat. I'll take their word for it.
You never had nutria?
I can't say that I have. No.
Me either.
I can't say that I have.
I mean, you have to be pretty hungry to get after that.
Well, they claim it now. But they are. So there you go. Rick Hamrick, small game expert, here with us. He's a biologist as well. Let's talk about the Youth Participation Initiative, would you?
Sure. We wanted to talk a little bit about that because we're kind of getting up to it here. We're looking at registration is going to be ending this week. January 31st is the last day to register. We've actually had really good sign up for a lot of our sites. We've got 7 sites around the state. We're going to be doing this. This is one of the events that we do in cooperation with the Mississippi Wildlife Federation. Mm-hmm. They utilize one of our Youth Participation Initiative grant programs, kind of run through our hunter education department, and so it's a good event. We've been doing this for a while now. And so we do have a few spots still, like at Noxubee National Wildlife Refuge near Starkville. We've still got several spaces there if folks are interested, if anybody's in that area. Camp McCain near Grenada has just a spot or 2 left, and Canal Section Wildlife Management Area, kind of a Tupelo, Fulton area up northeast part of the state, still maybe has a spot or 2 there. And so if anybody's interested, we'd encourage you to visit the Mississippi Wildlife Federation webpage. Should be able to search them up and go to their events section and find that registration page there. Again, we have a few spots left in some of those places, and otherwise it's filled up pretty good. We're looking forward to a really good hunt. We're going to do this with squirrel dogs on these areas, and so it's going to be a really active, upbeat event. Kids always have a great time. And so, again, we're looking real forward to that. You don't have to have any previous hunting experience. We actually encourage folks that don't have any previous hunting experience that have that interest to learn how to start hunting, to come out and participate in that with us. And so it's a great opportunity to introduce some of those new folks to hunting and kind of get them a taste for it and show them kind of how we hunt and get out in the woods.
What would a day what would that look like? What would a day consist of for people that are listening and maybe like, what does that even mean?
Sure, as far as the actual hunt we do.
The hunt kind of
we usually start up around noon. We'll have folks kind of bring their lunch with them or eat on the way, and we'll gather up. We spend an hour or so up front just kind of talking a little bit about kind of what makes a squirrel tick, what they do, kind of where they live. I think some folks kind of learn a few things from that, and so we try not to keep you in school too long, but then we go out and do a little practice shooting on the range that is supervised by some of our officers, and
cool.
And they get to shoot a gun, so those that haven't done it before kind of get that experience beforehand, so they kind of know what to expect. And then it's closely supervised after that. A hunting mentor goes along with each group and shadows the kid while they're getting their turn to shoot. The dogs make tree of the squirrel, and so they get to watch the dog work. Their mentor kind of helps them get lined up, keep the gun safe and everything. So it's really closely supervised again, and we'll spend several hours in the afternoon for that, and then we'll go back home into the indoor part and get a little supper and kind of learn how to hopefully clean a squirrel there too. When they harvest a few squirrels.
Yes.
Chris, you had mentioned earlier about you've been introduced to waterfowl hunting through a youth hunt, and that layer that the water added to the hunt, the boat ride or the waders, whatever. And I'd say that's similar to what it is with this squirrel dog hunt, because it's excitement. You add the dog in there.
Yeah,
that's right.
I call it a kind of a group sport, because it's a group of you going out there. You're not having to be quiet.
Yep.
You can talk, socialize, just like what we're doing here. Hear the dog work, and then finally when he trees, you go to him. And it's a lot different than deer turkey hunting, where you're sitting there, you're having to throttle yourself back to be quiet and don't move.
Yeah.
That's just the opposite on the small game hunting and the squirrel
Especially
hunting.
for somebody who's never been in the woods or hunted, or they're
That's
like, I run around and play all the time. This is lame. I want to do something. I want to move around, play with a dog. Even if they don't. I mean, my little boy would just probably play with the dog more so than than anything else, you know. So,
a great opportunity. We encourage people to look us up online, find out more about this, and get plugged in, because it's easy in. You don't have to have we don't ask you to bring a firearm because we provide that.
Okay.
But if you've got some type of boots, blue jeans and a jacket, it's not. It doesn't take any fancy
equipment. But some
equipment.
waterproof boots would probably be a good idea.
Most
Absolutely.
definitely. Yeah.
We don't want somebody rocking tennis shoes and have a miserable wet foot afternoon.
Well, we have had them show up in tennis shoes, and we'll be pulling boots out of our own truck. And get them out.
Socks down in there to make them fit.
Yeah, but we're going to make it happen. We want to have a good time.
And so there's weapons, there's ammo, there's everything.
All of that's provided.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just got to show up and just have clothes appropriate for the day, pretty much. Yeah, that's it. So they'll be going on February 9th.
And obviously you need an adult with them, right?
Correct. They do need a parental guide or at least some sort of guardian, approved guardian, accompanying them on the hunt as well.
And as you said, and you bring up a good point, Scott, is, I remember, some of my first hunting experiences were, you'd sit in the tree and it was cold and you don't move and you don't make any noise. And, of course, that was back in the 80s. There wasn't a whole lot of deer to see anyway, so there wasn't really anything at all to pique your interest. So it was difficult back then.
Yeah.
These kids now got hunting made, man. There's deer everywhere. You know where I'm coming from.
Right.
But what I'm saying is the point that, as you said, you can walk around. They can cut up. They can laugh. There's a dog. There's different things. There's action.
Yes, it's a social sport for sure.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's action, and that's a great way to put someone in the woods who's never been in the woods. And after all, that's our responsibility. That's something we should all be doing.
Yeah. Well, I don't know when's a good time to start talking about small game hunting opportunity, but this may be it. I don't want to jump ahead of y'all, but small game hunting is a great opportunity to get in the woods. A lot of it is a social sport. Squirrel hunting can be still hunting or with a dog. If it's still hunting, then you're normally quiet. But rabbit hunting, small game hunting, once again, I call it a social sport because it's a group of you and dogs out there, and a lot of fun. But Rick, I don't want to take your thunder. Is there give you a start, opening it up for you to talk about small game hunting opportunities?
That's you're going down the right road there. And so we've we've got those opportunities there until February 28th on the squirrel and rabbit side. Like you talk about, rabbits typically very action oriented type of hunting there. Of course, some folks do kind of walk them up a little bit and jump shoot a rabbit or two. There's nothing wrong with that, but of course most people use dogs to pursue rabbits and hunt them that way. And so again, sometimes that's a little bit more advanced maybe, but the new hunter can certainly kind of get in on some of that action as well if you've got some folks to kind of show you the ropes there. But of course, squirrel hunting, like we talked about, anybody can do that. It's a pretty easy thing to get into. And again, we've got those opportunities until February 28th, and we've got a lot of public land opportunities on that aspect as well, especially squirrel. You can pretty well find a place to go squirrel hunting if you really want to.
And Rick, you mentioned public land. I know on this show before we've talked about WMAs, and hunters that never have hunted WMAs are a little bit hesitant to hunt a WMA because they don't know what it's about, concerned about the number of hunters and the safety aspect. But if they've got an interest, small game hunting is a great opportunity to take that step into it, because there's very few hunters in the woods in February. But it's a great opportunity to learn the WMAs, the roads, if they want to scout for deer, because deer season is just closed, or scout for turkey season that's coming up. Yep. It's a great opportunity to get in the woods on these WMAs or National Forest Service land, open public land.
Certainly is, yeah.
No doubt about that. And as you said, it's a great way to learn. You know what I just did, Major Reed?
What's that?
I didn't go hunting this weekend.
I know what you did.
I didn't go hunting this weekend, but I got a chance to maybe go hunting and grab a shot at the last hurrah there.
Yes.
And I looked down and noticed that my license is expired.
Uh-oh.
And I didn't want to run into one of your constituents.
Yeah.
Out in the woods, so I just went on my app that is on my phone.
App. Okay.
And I renewed my sportsman's license.
How was that process?
I did it during the last segment while y'all were talking about squirrels, so it was pretty easy.
Huh? Yeah.
And I was using my divided attention. Now I was going back and forth, so that's how easy it was.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
A lot of people, I've mentioned the app to some people, and they're like, "You got an app? What are you talking? What? Yeah, man, get it." And I showed some folks the app, and they're like, man, that's cool. It's got all kind of stuff on there. So go out there, download it on the Android, wherever you download Android stuff, or the Apple Store for you iPhoners. And it's also going to be the easiest way to report your turkeys.
Yep, and because you got to do that this year.
Yep.
But most importantly is I now could go right now this afternoon if I wanted to.
Bam.
I mean, as soon as I got off the air, I could go if I wanted to because it's right there for us.
So when you talked about sliced bread in the break, that's what you were talking about.
Yep.
The best thing since sliced bread.
No doubt about it. Let's see. What's the life cycle of a CWD? Once a deer's infected, does it kill them in 3 months, 6 months, or what? Hopefully it's possible the disease kills itself off out of the herd. I don't know if that's the case, but there is a gestation period for it, isn't it?
It is.
Does anybody... I know I'm not the most qualified to answer that one.
Well, and I wouldn't say I am either, but I know it can take up 16, 18 months before you start seeing outward symptoms of it. You know, some of those that like the first one in Marshall County that was discovered, but it was a 1.5-year-old buck, and so we think it was given CWD by its mother at birth for it to be found so early in that deer's life. So, but 16 or so months before it starts showing, outward symptoms of it. And from that time until death, it can vary. And it's going to be a somewhat short period of time, but it can depend upon the environmental situation that deer's in.
Is hunter orange required for small game hunting?
Hunter orange is not required. It's a good idea. We always recommend it during the deer firearm seasons for folks to wear that. Now, if you're hunting on a public land, it is required. An orange cap or an orange vest is required for rabbit hunting and quail hunting. And so on public lands, those are required for rabbit and quail, but otherwise, no.
As silly as it sounds, I know some squirrel hunters, still hunters, that will wear their hunter orange because you always hear deer hunters talking about the number of squirrels they see when they're deer hunting and got their orange on. And it's, apparently these squirrels have learned that orange means no harm.
Trojan horse.
Yeah. So I know some guys that swear by it.
It's a trick there that Baker just gave out.
Yeah.
I think the squirrels are smarter than the average squirrel.
Yeah.
Bruce. Hello, Bruce. What can we do for you?
Hey, let me get you off speaker. Question. I hunt in Raymond, live in Clinton. Would like to have someplace way more convenient than Canton to drop something off, because I ain't driving to Canton.
Oh, come on. It's not that far, Bruce. I drive to Raymond to get deer processed. You can drive to Canton to get it tested.
No, I ain't going to.
Well, and there is another location at Mahana WMA, which is just north of Vicksburg. It may not be a whole lot closer to you, but it's another option. Another possibility is Copiah County WMA. Old Med Palmer down there is taking deer. So there are some in and around you, but maybe none as close as you would like for them to be.
Well, Bruce, they're doing the best they can, man. They got to get them spread out, and they got to go to the places where they are. And unfortunately, they just don't have an office, a facility there close to you right there. And so that's kind of why they've had to do it the way they've had to do it,
Jackson, you would think that there would be something available a little bit closer than having to go to Canton.
Well, again, that's the facility. That's the closest facility they have where they have the ability to be able to take and to have the room and the area to have the freezers and do those types of things. So I appreciate you calling there. Let's talk to Larry in Purvis. Larry, how are you?
Doing good. How are y'all?
Good, thank you.
I wanted to ask about squirrels. I live out of Purvis on 2 acres. I got about 70 pine trees, and I got more squirrels than I got birds. And they're a mess, man, eating these pine birds. And is there any problem me shooting the squirrels in my yard?
No, man. Not long as you're out in the county and don't have outside the city where there's an ordinance against it, and there's no subdivision or county ordinance against you shooting squirrels there on your property.
With the sheriff's department, and I've got woods all the way around the back and 3 sides, and they're coming out of these, woods, all these pines, and eating these pine birds, and then I got to get out there and rake up. It looks like apple cores, by the hundreds.
Yes, sir.
And it's the biggest mess. I ain't never seen a bigger squirrel in my life. And I said I knew how to get rid of them peckerwoods. Start shooting them with that little 410 I got.
Yes, sir. If you open up season on them, they'll probably become sparse then.
Yeah, that'll run off.
I heard that.
Make you a stew.
And let me ask you, have y'all seen a lot of fox that are gray-bodied and red tail and head?
That color phase is not uncommon. What about you, Rick?
Yeah, I've seen that with some regularity.
Yeah. So some people want to call it a red fox, so they see some red on it, but it's not a red fox, so it's still predominantly silver or gray.
Yeah.
Big patch of thicket, and undoubtedly they got a den in there, and I've been watching 3 for about 4 years come out my backyard right before dark, and they're grown, and now I'm seeing 2 about half grown ones with the 3. So undoubtedly they've had young ones. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
They are beautiful. I throw chicken bones out there and watch them 30 foot from me on the back porch, eat them.
Well, you may need to throw fewer chicken bones, let them try to prey on your squirrels a little bit.
I know it. I didn't know if they eat squirrels or not, but undoubtedly they don't because, buddy, whoo, I'm overtaken with them.
All right,
Thank you, fellas.
Thank you. Larry, appreciate that. Just started listening. Was there another CWD, Decky? Yes, there was, and that was what, Marshall County again? Is that right?
Yeah, up there in north part of the state. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're up to 9 now.
Yeah, we're up to 9 now, Decky, and now they're confirming 91 in Tennessee. So Tennessee's got they got a lot of issues going on there. That's for that's for sure. Russell said, "Give that man my number. I'll come up there and take care of it for him." So, yeah, you know they do it. And squirrels, they're amazing. They're certainly amazing what they can do and how quickly they can do it.
Expand. Yeah,
I remember I lived in the city of Jackson growing up. We had a bunch of them, and actually caused flea problems for us.
Yeah,
they can do that too.
See that?
If you got a lot of them, and my mom took care of that problem with a pellet gun, believe it or not. So, yeah. When I was in college, it was always my favorite. You might be a redneck if your mom's ever kept a squirrel tally on a piece of paper on a magnet on the refrigerator off the back door.
What was the number? You remember?
Oh, 40 or so.
What?
Yeah. We got rid of the fleas though.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, fleas
Good
were
for
gone.
her.
And she'd give them to the neighbor, and he'd eat them. So it was all good. It didn't go to waste.
Works out.